Let's narrow in now on Las Vegas convention and trade show tourism. Two large shows wrapped up this month, with World of Concrete expecting 60,000 attendees this year. That's 20,000 more than last year. And at CES, organizers reported more than 115,000 attendees, exceeding expectations. So what does this indicate about the industry's recovery from COVID? For that, we welcome Howard Stutz, gaming reporter for the Nevada Independent. Howard, welcome.
Thanks for having me on.
First off, we have a lot of people that are new to Nevada and new to Las Vegas. Can you summarize just how important this trade show and convention industry is here?
Well, it's a great question because it's grown over the years, the entire convention business. Nevada, years ago, 2019, we had 6.6 million convention attendees as part of our visitation, the visitor totals that come out. Right now, 2020, it was zero because of all the conventions got canceled. 2021 was starting to build back up. Right now through November, because we're looking at the numbers for 2022, we'll get December numbers at the end of this month. It's about 4.2 million convention attendees. So we're getting back. And a lot of the gaming companies were very forward thinking in their comments during the earnings calls last year, saying we've seen a lot of forward bookings coming up for 2023. It's going to be a good year. And CES and World of Concrete have proved that already. CES, I think last year was about 60,000. You know, it was the first. It didn't happen in 2020, or it did. It was right at the beginning of the pandemic, and it started to. You know, there was a lot of some people canceled. It was a little slow. Obviously, it didn't happen in 2020. 2021 was only 60,000 people. So this year, you know, it's 2022, 60,000 people. This year, you know, really
115,000.
Yeah, so it's a really good sign. And World of Concrete was been packed down there, and they brought back all the bricklaying competition. So there's a lot of positive sights looking forward right now.
And you talked about the earnings calls in which CEOs from the Strip will be on those calls. And it's not just fluff. It's not that they're putting that out there as an optimistic point of view, because you have to book conventions quite far out, correct?
You book them some years in advance. You know, we have some that are booked out that it's like a 3-year. They don't happen for 3 years, and they're already booked for 3 years from now. One of the signs that we saw last year, the Global Gaming Expo is the largest convention for the gaming industry. Happens every October in Las Vegas at the Venetian complex. 2020 it obviously went virtual. In 2021 they had a scaled down version, maybe about. I think they had attendance about 13,000. We actually did a Nevada Week taping there, and it was an empty floor. I mean, practically, I told the host, it was like, at this in normal times this would be packed with 3-4 booths. So this past one in October almost met the record in terms of attendance. They had about 25,000 attendees. Not the same scale as CES and World of Concrete, but that was we had a large number, and we had international travelers back too for it. So it was a really good sign moving forward into this year.
Okay, Steve Hill, president of the LVCVA, says he thinks there's a pretty good possibility this year there could be those 6.6 million attendees here for conventions and trade shows that happened in 2019. You think this will be the year we're back to normal, or still getting?
You know, I hate doing that kind of prediction because you never know. You know, something weird could happen. Like international travel is the biggest, along with conventions. It was one of the two big keys we needed for Las Vegas on the comeback. You know, following the pandemic, international travel is still slowly coming back. We don't have any direct flights from Asia. I don't think. You know, we had South Korean Air flying in here, Korean Air flying in. We don't have those yet. We have a lot from Europe and other markets. There has been some talk that I think the U.S. was going to ask for quarantines or tests from China because they had an uptick in COVID. So that's going to be the big key before we really can say, yeah, we're back to normal. and things are moving forward. I think that'll be one of the big keys to look forward to.
International travel is such a big part of the population that comes for these conventions and the trade shows. But it's interesting you mentioned that talk about the U.S. possibly imposing quarantines because China is now getting rid of their quarantine requirements.
That came up earlier, I think, like toward the end of last year, and so hopefully it won't happen, or it'll just go away real quick. But the international travel, let's remember, the airport is going to set a record this year for terms of passengers. The record was 51.5 million back in 2019. We're already at we're close. We're up at 48.3 million passengers through November. If December holds, so we don't know, with the Southwest meltdown and everything, but if December holds to like the average, we'll break that record. And that's with international air passenger volume still below the record of 3.8 million. We're about 2.3 million through November.
Wow. Okay. So you talk about convention and trade show tourism. It's different than visitor volume, though. Those are two different numbers. And how do the two compare as we talk about recovery from COVID?
Well, you add in convention business is added into that visitor volume, but the total visitor volume where we're at right now is we're still behind. I mean, we're through November was 35.5 million. The record is we're down 9% compared to 2019. That's where we have to come back. It was 40. The record visitor volume ever was 42.9 million. So we're still behind it. That's really where it's going to come back, and a lot of what's going on this year will probably help it.
Talk about some of what is going on this year that will help it.
Well, of course, we have Allegiant Stadium has brought in a lot of folks. Not just for the Raiders games. Wish it could be for maybe one or two UNLV games, but not for UNLV, but for all the college, the other events they've had there. The college, we've got the Shrine, the East-West Shrine game coming up. They have the Notre Dame BYU game last year, so they play these non-conference college games there. The Las Vegas Bowl.
Concerts as well.
Concerts have been incredibly. It's been done really well, and we've got more on the books for this year. Allegiant has helped boost that tourism number, help bring more people in. But it's just going to be, the other events are going on. We got, of course, Formula One we've talked about. I'm sure we're going to talk about that, ad nauseum this year, but that's going to be a very highly attended event. It's already, the room rates, we talked about it once before, are going up because of Formula One. And in 2024, we have the Super Bowl, and we'll always remember Vegas, as you well know, we do very well with this when the Super Bowl's in somewhere, because and before people want to come here if they can't go to the Super Bowl itself. You have March Madness, so you have those sporting events these big weekends that draw visitors here, even if they're not even in this market. And remember, the West Regional is going to be at T-Mobile Arena I think it's in March, beginning of April. I'm not sure the date. So that's the first time we'll have that event here. So that'll add people.
It all sounds really good, but then we hear talk about a potential recession. What have you heard? Have you heard anything on the earnings calls about concerns?
They've been very positive on these earning calls. Years ago there was a recession before the big Great Recession in the late 2000s. The recession, Vegas seemed recession-proof. We learned we're not recession-proof when it hit in the late 2000s. Nobody knows what the extent of a recession would be, what it might look like. People have been, even after COVID, when people were cutting back, they were still traveling, and we saw travel boost up in the last all through 2022. That's why our numbers are still, pretty good. You still get, they're getting good room rates on the Strip. They've set records for the amount of prices they were getting on the Strip in terms of rooms in October. So we don't know if the convention's gonna slow things or not. I mean, it's just. A recession will slow things or not. We'll see what happens.
Okay, so you've talked about how events have risen room rates in your reporting and brought in visitor volume as well. Has the landscape of Las Vegas changed in terms of gaming revenue versus non-gaming revenue?
Let's remember, Nevada for years, old guys like me remember this. Nevada and Atlantic City were the only places in the country you could find a casino. Today, there's like 37 or so states with commercial casinos. Another 20 states have tribal casinos. Sports betting has expanded throughout the U.S. I mean, you can go anywhere you want, almost in the country, and go to a casino or bet on sports or something. So that's what's changed. Over that time in Las Vegas on the Strip, gaming revenue wasn't the driver for the big revenue driver for the Strip. It was the non-gaming stuff: the hotels, the restaurants, the shopping, the entertainment. Allegiant Stadium's added that because of the entertainment. So it used to be, it was around time, it was about 65-35%. Now the numbers are pretty skewed right now. It's in our fiscal year. It just coming out today as we're on the show here. For fiscal 22, which ended July of last year, you're looking at 30% of the gaming, 30% of the revenues on the Strip were from gaming, and another almost 70% were from non-gaming.
Wow.
So we saw that come back even higher. In the time when Vegas had, we had what? The Strip had like the $7.1 billion revenue year in all of 2021. 2022, we still have November numbers. The Strip gaming revenue is $7.5 billion. It's already a record, and we're still waiting for December to be counted. So they're big numbers. I'm not a math guy. I get confused on them, but you can see right there that people have disposable income. They're coming to Vegas and they're spending it. In
gaming, traditionally, and in
non-gaming is big, and we've got a big non-gaming event happening, project that's supposed to launch later this year.
What are we talking about?
The Sphere, the
MSG
Sphere.
Sphere. Yep, for more entertainment. Howard Stutz, the Nevada Independent, thank you so much for your time.
Anytime.